What's up YouTube, Jason here with Bite My Bits. Today I want to do a little bit of a different style of video. Instead of a green screen scripted, I want to do kind of an off-the-cuff first impression of a piece of software that was sent to me by Glasswire. The software is a firewall and it has a lot of different features and a few things that I really like about it and maybe a couple things that I wish they could have done better. Stay tuned. Okay, to start off, this is a firewall with Glasswire, as I mentioned before. Now, it's definitely a basic standard firewall as far as it monitors your network activity. It allows you to block access to certain applications, and it does the basic firewall things. But the few things that I really like about it are the additional features that the software has to offer. So today I want to kind of go over that. Now, I was going to do a complete first impressions where I go through the installation and I see exactly how it was right when you first start it, but I kind of felt like I needed to get to know the software a little bit better before I made a video about it. So I did take about, I'm going to say about a week with this software. I kind of played around with it. I installed it on two PCs. I installed it on my main computer, and I also installed it on my Plex server, which is what we're looking at right now. Yes, I know it's Windows 10. No, I'm not happy with it, but I have reasons as to why I'm temporarily on this. But anyways, I installed it on multiple computers, and I used the software to monitor both of those computers from one screen, and so far I've been relatively happy with it. Okay, so let's start with some of the basic features. Now, a lot of these basic features are just standard firewall features, network monitoring, network blocking, things like that, but there are a few other things that are added to this software that I have really come to like, and I haven't had use for them yet, but I can definitely see sometime in the future where they could come up and be useful just because of the way that they work. So let's check that out. Now, the first thing you see when you get into the software is this moving graph. Now, this is basically a network monitor that's going to be monitoring all of the network coming in and out of your server. So all of these different colors are representing a different software or an application that is accessing the internet and what percentage of the internet or the network activity is being used by said application. So this, for an example, because I'm accessing my server remotely, it has a lot of TeamViewer going on. So TeamViewer is using the most bandwidth currently. Even though it's not really that much, it is still using the most. And I can see this because I've been logged in for a while. Now, if we go back, let's say 3 hours, and we take a look at something like right here, we can see that the system was using 6 gigabytes worth of bandwidth up and down. Now, that's probably because I was moving files to and from the server, so it's monitoring that local intranet activity for when I was doing a file dump. Now, we can change this to a 24-hour or a week period. Now, you can see throughout the week all of the different network spikes that I've had on this server through this graph, and this allows you to kind of monitor things that don't really make sense, maybe something you're not expecting. So let's just take, for example, right here. This is a huge spike. Let's see what it was. So we have the Plex Media server uploaded 10 gigabytes worth of data, downloaded 3 megabytes worth of data. So obviously that was whatever was going on there was me or somebody else watching video off my Plex server, and it spiked to right around 10 gigabytes worth of data. Now that's overall, so you can see it kind of monitors as it goes. And you can also see right here where it actually monitors changing of system files. So this one in particular, application notated that this information changed for the Windows malicious software removal tool, which means it just did an automatic update. I didn't have to do anything, and normally I wouldn't even know about that, except right here, it went ahead and told me at this particular time when that went into effect. Now, that's only one of the features that this has to offer. The graph is great, but there are more in-depth views that you can see on certain applications that is running on your computer. So let's take, for example, the usage tab here. Now, this is going to break everything down specifically per the application using it. So we can see here on the left-hand side, we have an incoming amount of about 5.7 gigabytes worth of data, and this is over the last day. I can change that to a week, month, year, but I've only had it for a week. So over the last week, I've had about 7.1 gigabytes worth of data uploaded to this machine and 122 gigabytes of data transferred away from this machine. And we can see here that the Plex media server is the #1 culprit for all of that bandwidth. Go figure, it's a Plex media server. It breaks everything down per application as far as what is using data. So the reason why this is useful right here, because although the graph is nice to look at, sometimes it's just easier to see everything listed without having to kind of sort through the data yourself. So if there's anything else on the system that I personally did not install or was not aware of, they would show up either A, in the main list if they used a lot of bandwidth, or B, in this other application. So let's look at Hardware Monitor Pro. It's going to say exactly where the Hardware Monitor Pro is located, and it's going to tell me exactly how much bandwidth that it's used. It's going to tell me what host it connects to, or what alerts as far as when when it was first added to the network. Okay, so it keeps an eye on all of my traffic per application. It tells me how much bandwidth I've used on this server for all of those applications, and that includes the bandwidth that the actual computer uses for things like Windows Update or moving files around. So that's really great, and I definitely like that feature, and what I like about it is how it's broken down and how it's easy to use. Now, the next feature that I kind of find interesting, and also if you wanted to take a look at it, or you made yourself take a look at it, it would also be beneficial to you, is the network monitor. From here, we'll be able to see things that are popping up on the network that I have attached to either the Wi-Fi or the Ethernet. Things like my wife's phone, laptop, my Fire TV, Xbox, my Yamaha receiver, hell, my regular TV, everything that it picks up as a MAC address and connected to the network, it's going to show right here. So if something pops up, something that I wasn't aware of, then that would allow me to take a look at that, maybe log into my router, see what exactly that is, why it connected, how it connected, and possibly ban that or change my password or whatever I need to do in order to take action. Not a groundbreaking feature or something that I find myself checking all the time, but I do like how it's broken down. I like how it keeps track of everything that pops up so you don't have to. The next thing we have is the actual firewall option to block applications from accessing the internet from this panel. And the one thing I really like about this, and this is, night and day compared to a lot of other firewall applications that I've used, is the ability to just click on it and have it blocked. It's done. It's simple. I mean, they really simplified it. So let's say Google Installer. Let's say that this was a malicious software that, I'm going to remove, but while I'm trying to remove it, I want to restrict access to it. All I have to do is click it. Boom. It's blocked. Just like that. It goes up to the top of the list, and it's blocked. I don't have to worry about it anymore. It is blocked. Now, granted, there's more to it. I mean, it might have other applications associated with that might be trying to access it. Who knows if it was malware or virus, what are the things it installed on your system. But the point is, with this firewall software, with one click, you can restrict access to that application right off the bat, and it'll just shut it down. Now, from the same screen, you can also monitor and see in real time what is using data as it goes along. So you can say, hey, the Plex media server, that's using kind of a lot of data right now, but I don't want it to. Now, of course, I don't want to block the Plex media server, but if I wanted to, I could see it from the screen, see it's using a bunch of data, stop that, and then go through, and let's say that was a virus or something that was going on maliciously in my system, I could address that concern right then and there, knowing that that was blocked. The thing that I don't like is exactly what you're seeing here, is if you have an active computer and you have things on your network that are changing their bandwidth as they go along, it's moving around. And that's great if you want to see, what's using more, and the ones that are using more are staying up at the top of the screen. But that's kind of bad if you want to block something, because let's say you go to click on something or you're trying to block something and it changes spots. The next thing you know, you're clicking and you're blocking something else that you weren't intending to block. Like, I want to block Google Chrome, but let's say if it switched on me and then I accidentally blocked the Plex media server and shut down any users that was on my Plex media server. So that, to me, I would like to see improved, to where I would have the options to, let's say, click one of these top buttons here and I can sort it, or I can say, stop filtering by speed. Give me some options. That's what I would prefer if I had to make any change to this. And I know that's really kind of nitpicking it, but it's definitely something that I would like to see improved. I actually feel kind of good that's the only complaint I have about this. It's just the sorting factor and how it automatically changes. I mean, Other than that, everything runs pretty good. Another thing that I really like about this software is the bandwidth monitoring that is built in. So if we go back to this usage tab, we can click here on options and we can go to usage alerts. Of course, you have to unlock this. I don't know why you have to unlock it, but you do. But here you can change your bandwidth overage monitor, and you can say, hey, on this particular day of the month, my bandwidth is reset with my provider, and I get an allocation of, let's say, 2 terabytes a month. So I can change this here, and anytime that I'm pushing close to this number, or if I go over this number, it's going to pop up and it's going to tell me that I'm over my bandwidth. Okay, and then the last feature that I really like about this particular application is going to be the remote monitoring. Now, I'm showing you everything on my Plex server. This is me remoting into my Plex server, but if I drag this over, this is actually the same application monitoring the same exact information on my main computer. Now, that to me is one of the best features I've ever seen in a firewall. And there's probably, I haven't used all the firewalls, but I've used a few. Now, that's one of the best features I've seen in a firewall because it allows you to keep everything on one screen. And you can change back and forth between those servers. So I can click on local, and I can see everything being used here local, or I can click on my remote server and see everything being used there, all from my main PC. Now, of course, what you can monitor and how much you can monitor is totally going to depend on what license you decide to get. There is a basic license option, which I'll take a look at here. Let's go up here to buy. Now, you have a basic license option, which is $49. Not bad. You get one PC. But for $99, you can monitor 3 PCs. Or for $199, you can monitor 10 PCs. Looking at some other software prices out there, I mean, you can find them for $20 or $30, so it might be a little bit higher priced or in the higher price range, but it's not necessarily unfounded just because of all the extra features it has. In this particular demo, I am running the Pro license key, so I can monitor up to 3 separate computers. So having this installed, now this is on my main computer. This is just, overlapping on the team viewer here. Now the information is almost exactly the same as if I was actually on the host computer when I'm monitoring them remotely. So the only major differences I found was probably the usage screen, where you can't really change the different notifications and pop-ups that you would be able to if you were on the host computer, which really isn't that big of a deal. I mean, over here you have the option of usage alerts, but you don't have the option if you're changing it from a remote computer. Not a big deal because you're not on that computer, so who really cares what options are popping up? Now you can still go in here and you can see the graph. You can see the same graph going in real time, change it to 3 hours, 1 week, pause it, take a look at each thing. I mean, basically just as if you were actually sitting at that computer, or for that matter, remoting into that computer, using it from that desktop. Now later on, since I've kind of determined that I like this software, I think I'm actually going to install this software on my wife's laptop. So when I do that, it's still going to break everything down in these tabs where I can see local or remote, and I can monitor everything on each one of those PCs from one screen. Now, the one thing that I have found, and more of an annoyance than anything, is that my computer runs all the time. In fact, if my computer restarts when I wake up in the morning and I find out that Windows 10 forced my computer to restart, I am angry. I mean, I hate my computer turning down or turning off. But because this runs all the time, I have noticed, and it's not terrible, but I have noticed delays in switching back and forth between servers that get worse over time. I just reset my computer this morning so I could do this video and record this without any issues, but before I did this, it was taking a lot longer to switch back and forth between computers. Also, when I was dragging the window around, it seemed almost like it had, I want to say, a memory leak, where it was running too long and it started being slow to react. I would get over here and just move it in a circle and it would jump around trying to catch up to where I was. So when I force close the application and restart the application, it goes back to normal. Or for that matter, if I reset my PC, it goes back to normal. So I don't know if that is a memory leak issue or just too much data being accumulated over the however much time that it was on, that it just starts to bog down a little bit. For the most part, this software has seemed to be pretty lightweight overall. It uses about 3% of my CPU at idle, and that is while monitoring, both computers. So it's not really that terrible. But overall, it's pretty good, except for the idea that it does kind of get a little bit bogged down. I have a 5960X overclocked to 4.5 gigahertz. I have 64 gigabytes of RAM, and I have a PCI Express SSD in my computer. So I have plenty of speed available to be able to handle this and a multitude of other applications on my computer without experiencing any kind of bog downs from that. But it's not terrible. I mean, it's not ruining the experience for me. I definitely still like to use it. I still like to go through and look at everything on the network and figure out if there is anything that's spiking up that maybe I don't know or did not know about that I can take action if I need to. So far that hasn't happened, but it could happen. And I think that goes to one of my number one reasons why I think this software, with the way it's laid out and the information it displays, can be useful. It pops up and it tells you when something new is happening on your computer. It says, hey, this software application for the first time is accessing the internet. We can go in there and say, well, what is that? Let's take a look at this for a week. It'll tell me everything that's accessed to applications. So first network activity, Apache HTTP server. Okay, well that happened on March 7th. And let's say we go over, let's see if I have anything else here that'll pop up. So new activity. SIH client. Now that's just definitely something that's built into Microsoft that's accessing, but it is still saying right here that this is the first time it accessed. So as an administrator of my own server, if I wanted to go back and take a look at these alerts and see the first things that happened or the events that happened when certain thing accessed the internet, that would kind of give me an insight into what's going on my server while I am away. I find that definitely beneficial if you want to keep an eye on your server or your computer or your wife's computer or whatever you want to keep an eye on. That's pretty much the main reason why I find this thing as a very useful application overall. Another thing that I kind of have a question about, and I don't see an immediate answer right away, but let's just say over the last, I don't know why. Oh, looks like it crashed. This is actually the second time it happened. It's kind of sheer luck. Oh, okay. And it's back. But you kind of see there, this hasn't been running that long, and it just kind of freaked out for no reason. But every application has its issues, but for some reason that just happened. So let's go back over here and let's click on month. Now, the one thing I don't see readily available as far as determining, if this is everything, is whether or not this bandwidth usage is also including my remote server. Now, I think it's not. I think it's just breaking down all of these applications, and it's not. Okay, you kind of see this. It's kind of acting a little weird again. I don't know. It's having issues. I have no idea why it's doing this. No idea. It's freaking out. And this has happened before. And this is definitely one of those things where I would like to see this better. I don't know why it's doing this. No idea why. Glasswire, you're watching. Tell me why it's doing this. This is basically a fresh restart on my computer. The application has been running for probably about an hour. I don't really know why it's doing this, but it seems to be freaking out when I switch it over to a month. So let's click this to a week. See if that fixes it. Okay, so the usage screen definitely does not like it when you switch from the day to the week to the month, and I don't even want to know what happens when you click on the year button because that thing starts freaking out. But what I would like to see is something that breaks down, and it's probably here. I just haven't found it. Maybe it's here, maybe it's here. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But what I would like to see is the bandwidth monitor that is built into this. That's resetting, every month because of the way I configured it. I would like to see a screen that would show me the bandwidth usage, and it would make it clear to me, but I want to see the bandwidth usage for all of my computers, excluding local intranet traffic, if possible. and show me what my total bandwidth is. Because obviously I have a cap, a bandwidth cap. Well, I have a bandwidth soft cap with Cox, but obviously I have a bandwidth limitation. If I go over that, they send me some nasty emails, and then I have to, make sure not to go over it again, or they threaten to cancel me, etc., etc. But I have this bandwidth cap, and some months I may or may not push close to that bandwidth cap. And if I set the limitation on the local machine, like on my computer here, through this option here. Okay, so if I set this here, notify me when computer uses a certain amount. If I turn this on, and I can exclude local traffic. If I turn this on, is this going to actually monitor all of my computers? Is it going to take into account all of the PCs connected to this remote monitor? Is it going to add in my Plex bandwidth being sent to other places? Not on the intranet, not my Plex media server streaming to my Xbox, because that's not going against my bandwidth. Not me transferring video files to and from my other PC to my Plex media server. That's not going against my bandwidth. But will this be able to monitor all of the bandwidth going externally and tell me my total bandwidth for the month? I can see the different options, all usage, even though if I click month or week, it freaks out. But I can see the different options, but I can't really see like a total bandwidth screen. That is something that I wish I could find. Maybe you could tell me how to find that, but I can't really find an option for that. But I think that would be a great feature because it's already monitoring the bandwidth usage on these computers. I think they just need some way, maybe a separate screen or a different tab or something that would say, hey, per your settings, you said on this day of the month, your bandwidth reset. You have X amount of computers that you're monitoring through this software. So per your settings, excluding all the internal traffic on your network, this is how much bandwidth you've used for the month. Here you go. It's going to reset on the 8th or the 10th or whenever your bandwidth resets. So you can go back and you can look at past history and say, hey, last month I used this. Maybe even break it down and say, you've used most of your traffic through Plex, or used most of your traffic through, Internet Explorer. Whatever it is, it'll tell you what you've used most of your traffic through. I can't even say that with a straight face, but that's the idea, though. That's what I would like to see. And also, I kind of want to see the usage tab here fixed. That way I could still see, let's say, a month without the thing crashing. Like, there you go. See, click at the month, it crashes again. So there's a few things that need tweaked and needs fixed with the software. Obviously, it's not perfect. You get the bogging, you get the weird crashing when you try to switch it. It's still not bad. And realistically, this is a good screen to kind of look at, but it's not a necessity to the functionality of the software. It's just annoying as hell, really, when you want to look at something, but not that big of a deal. Would I recommend it? Well, it depends. Do you need a firewall, first of all? Do you have firewalls built into your routers or anything like that? Do you really need a firewall? Not everybody needs a firewall. Do you need a $50 firewall or a $100 firewall? Maybe, maybe not. It really depends on how much you want to look at your computer and analyze and see, if there's any kind of threats going on with your PC. Now, for me, I would consider myself a power user. I have multiple computers, servers, I have a bunch of stuff going on my network. So to me, I think it's useful because I want to be able to look at that and say, hey, there's some weird funky activity going on with my remote computer that I don't really know why it's going on. So to me, I think it's beneficial. And for the price of, I think it was $100, it's actually not that bad. So yeah, for $100 to monitor 3 PCs, it's not really that bad. I kind of feel like a power user is definitely going to want this software. I think a power user is going to like this software just because of the features that it has available to it. But a power user might have more than 3 and less than 10. So maybe the power user needs the option to get a Pro Plus, where you can add a $20 licensing to add another computer off the same intranet. Maybe that should be an option, maybe not. I don't know. But this is just my personal opinion. 3 PCs really is a lot for a lot of people. Now, a power user might have more, but for the most part, 3 PCs is probably a nice sweet spot for most users. Not a big deal. Putting the power user aside, we can take a look at family people. You have a husband, a wife, or whatever. Then you have maybe a few kids. So all of a sudden you have 3 kids on your network. All of them have their own PC. You have the parents that are wanting to monitor all of those PCs. You might have laptops, desktops. You could have, 5 or 6 on your local intranet. And as a power using dad or just a concerned parent wants to be able to monitor all of those computers all in one place, maybe that would be one of those things where we need somewhere in the middle where we can add additional PCs without having to buy a complete $199 package. Just my opinion, probably wrong, but there you go. Well, that's it, guys. Those are the things that I like with the Glasswire Firewall application. Now, they weren't paying me to do this video. I don't want you to think that. They did allow me to try it through a pro license just so I could, get my first impressions with this and make a video. So those are the things that I like about it. Those are the things that I found that I didn't like too much about it. From here, you can make your own decision. You can figure out, is it worth $50 to you? Is it worth $100 to you? Does it have the features that you think that you could use on your computer or over your local intranet? Those are things that you have to decide. But these are the things that I liked and disliked about the application. If you have any questions about this, I'm probably going to keep this installed. So let me know if you have any questions. Leave those in the comment below, or you can hit me up on Twitter at _BiteMyBits. Usually I can get a faster response from Twitter because I check that way more often than I do the comment section of YouTube because, well, the comment section of YouTube is pretty vile sometimes. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe below, and have a good day.